Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head out to America once again, and we're going to revisit one of the premier American craft breweries, and these guys are really one of the ones that got the ball rolling, if you like, over there. So we're going to go out to California on the west coast, to the north of the state, to a little place called Chico, and that means of course that we are going to revisit the wonderful Sierra Nevada Brewing Company. And today we have quite a special beer to look at from them, and this is one that I was really hoping, I'd seen it on the internet and I was really hoping that we'd get this, and thankfully it got here to Sweden in the 13th February 2020 tillfällig sortiment in Systembolaget. But this particular beer is the Hoppy 40th Anniversary Ale, and it's a West Coast IPA coming in at 6% ABV. So yeah, curious to see what this has in store actually. You know, the Pale Ale and the Torpedo are kind of classic American beers for me. Sculpin I didn't try till quite a bit later on, but you know, Sierra Nevada are quite readily available at home, the Pale Ale and the Pale Ale and the Torpedo. So I do like having one or two of those every so often. I don't really drink much beer outside of the YouTube channel these days, but if I am at home in Scotland, I'm always tempted to get some Sierra Nevada because it is really easily available, to be honest. But yeah, very curious to see how this one turns out. The first brewery that I think I've come across that's releasing a 40th anniversary ale, which is pretty damn cool actually. But like I said, these guys are really one of the kind of premier American craft breweries. So if you haven't tried their beers already, I really recommend that you do. Torpedo and the Pale Ale are, you know, kind of classics, to be honest. I still need to try their stout as well though, because that was the very first beer that they released, so that's something that I definitely need to fix on the channel for you at some point soon. But yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Sierra Nevada before. No doubt there will be some more at some point in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the American beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Sierra Nevada Brewing Company then, on to my brewery notes. So as I've told you before, Sierra Nevada Brewing Company was founded back in 1979 in Chico in Northern California, and this was when the founders Ken Grossman and Paul Camusi decided to expand their home brewing hobby into a fully fledged career. So Ken fell in love with Chico when he was visiting friends there who were at the local university, and eventually he opened up a home brewing shop, and this was when he met Paul Camusi and they started home brewing together. Together they built much of their own equipment out of recycled dairy equipment, and then in 1983 they officially opened up the company and their portfolio with 3 different beers. Like I mentioned a minute ago, the stout was the first beer that they released. Over the coming years they continually expanded, and then in 1987 they purchased the 20th Street plot that has been their home ever since, and their tap room opened up a couple of years later in 1989. Paul Camusi took the decision to retire in 1998, and he sold his share of the company to Ken Grossman, who remains the majority owner of the company. But in 2008 they introduced their beer camp event, which is where they bring in local chefs and other brewers and stuff like that to do a lot of collaboration beers and things, and they sort of make, you know, they make a lot of beers that are suited for different foods and things like that. It's quite an interesting event, and since 2010 they've also had a partnership with the new Clairvaux Abbey in Northern California, and they've been producing some Trappist style beers up there as well. In 2012 they announced plans to open up a second brewery in Mills River over on the east coast in North Carolina, and this opened up in 2014, and that's a pretty damn impressive facility, I have to say. But they've also been credited by the EPA in America as being a very green company, if you like, and the brewery runs almost exclusively on renewable energy, and these days they're producing around 1 million barrels of beer per year, and they've had the same brewmaster since 1983, which is pretty cool, like I said. So yeah, a really interesting company, this one. The beers that you really need to try from these guys would be the Pale Ale, the Torpedo, and you know, pretty much any of the special beers that you can get a hold of, you will quite enjoy them. I need to try the hazy little thing from them. I've heard that that's quite a nice beer actually. The tropical torpedo is one that I would like to have a little go at sometime too. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about Sierra Nevada Brewing Company for the moment. Like I said, been around since 1983, which is pretty damn impressive. So if you haven't tried some of their stuff already, I really highly recommend that you do. A really nice brewery in my mind. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this one then. If you want to learn more about Sierra Nevada, you can check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out all the different beers that they've done on Rate Beer, Untappd, Beer Advocate. According to Untappd, they've produced over 1,000 different kinds of beer, which is pretty damn impressive. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this one then. I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of this before we open it up. There you can see, a little bit different from what you'll normally find from Sierra Nevada because it is quite a special beer. There you can see that is also on the little top label there, and you can see there is the classic Sierra Nevada bottle cap. This one is a 375 milliliter bottle. I forget how many fluid ounces, it's 12 fluid ounces apparently, in the crazy American liquid measuring system. Don't understand it at all, but it says on the back here, hop forward beers weren't popular when we started brewing them in 1980, but we loved them and we knew that if we were going to open a brewery we'd better make something distinctive. It's been 40 years since then and we're still brewing what we love. This beer showcases the bold flavours and aromas of a classic West Coast IPA, intense pine and citrus with a deep gold colour and a slight caramel sweetness. Here's to following your passion and to the next 40 years. So yeah, pretty damn cool, I have to say. So happy 40th anniversary to Sierra Nevada, and you know, thank you for starting this whole thing off. Actually, I don't know what I would be drinking these days if it wasn't for the craft beer, but I would like to think that I would have discovered German beer or Belgian beer or something like that. You know, I'd like to think that that's the case, but you know, come to think of it, if it hadn't been for Sierra Nevada, I wouldn't have had Brewdog in Aberdeen, and then I probably wouldn't have discovered what craft beer was, to be honest with you. So yeah, that's always an interesting point to think about. Sierra Nevada are ones who inspired so many different brewers. For me it was Brewdog that got me into beer. They kind of behave quite shittily now, as I've said to you before, but yeah, it's always cool to go back to the kind of premier breweries and try some of these very nice beers. But yeah, I can smell this already. I think this one is going to be pretty damn nice. So to tell you a few of the stats about the beer then, before we get rid of the brewery notes, it's a 6% West Coast IPA. This one is hopped with Cluster, Cascade, Centennial, and it's got a malt base of 2-row pale, caramelised malts, acidulated malts, and there's also some oats in there as well. So Cluster is a hop I haven't come across all that often. It's used as a bittering hop mainly. It's known for having quite a distinctive bitterness. Cascade is the classic American West Coast hop. And Centennial is, Centennial is the one that will give you all that lovely kind of lemony zest to your beer as well. And you know, Cascade and Centennial always seem to go pretty damn well together. So yeah, let's get rid of the brewery notes now and have a little look at this beer. So as you can see with this one, and as you would kind of expect from a West Coast IPA, it's poured a really nice kind of rich amber colour. If I put the light through this, you can see it has got a little bit of that haze that you would expect from a proper West Coast IPA. You don't want these beers really to be to be filtered. You do want them to have a little bit of haze to them, I think. Although in fairness, now that I think about it, there was the Sculpin unfiltered, so maybe this one has been filtered to a degree. It'd be cool to have it would be quite cool to have a torpedo version that's unfiltered, because come to think of it, I think that is a clear beer. So yeah, ignore that last statement that I made. With this one you get a kind of half finger of a frothy, I would say cream coloured head on this one. I don't think it was quite perfect white. One or two big bubbles going up, sticking to the side of the glass, and a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there. But overall it does look pretty damn nice, and pretty much what you would expect from a West Coast IPA. So let's have a look at the aroma then and just see how we get on. Oh yeah, no, straight away, it really is a nice nostalgia trip, that. I've been complaining on the channel for a while, it's this kind of haze craze that's going. I noticed the West Coast IPAs are starting to creep back in, which is great, but it's always nice to go back to breweries like this and have the proper old school thing that got me into the IPAs in the first place. But you really can smell that with this. Straight away, you get that lovely kind of sweet caramel note out of it. You can definitely smell a bit of that kind of white bready quality in there. I'm interested to see if the acidulated malts come out in the flavour, because I know that that was something that Magic Rock in England always used to put in their beers. They loved the acidulated malts. I don't think I've had one from Sierra Nevada that's had that in it yet, so that'll be an interesting addition. But yeah, you've got some lovely kind of white bready notes in there, and that'll be the 2-row pale. It gives you some lovely bready notes, but also some kind of biscuity qualities. But you definitely get that kind of sweet, rich caramel in there. A little bit of the lighter McVitie's Digestive biscuity sort of thing, and also there are 1 or 2 little kind of woody notes to the beer too, which is interesting. So yeah, lovely kind of sweet malty backbone, which is what you want from a West Coast IPA. On the hoppy side of things, I don't get too much in the way of sort of piney resins and grass, and there is a good bit of grassiness to this one, but I don't find the piney resins too prominent in the aroma of this one for me. It does come across as more oily and sweet and fruity, to be honest with you, but I'm hoping this one was imported by Wicked Wines up in Täby in Stockholm, so I'm hoping it's not been sitting for too long before it's got out to Systembolaget, because I have criticised the importers into Sweden in the past because they bring these beers over here far too early. Some of them were bringing them over like 2 months, 3 months in advance and letting them sit before they went out. But that was partially Systembolaget's fault as well for the kind of stupid rules that they have, but they are starting to liberalise it a little bit so the craft beer can get out there in a more fresh state. But yeah, the fruity side of this beer is really very nice. It's the Cascade, you know. I really got into the Cascade hop because of my local brewery, the Harveston Brewery in Clackmannanshire in Scotland. They're my favourite beer from them, the Schiehallion. It was a lager beer, a Czech lager beer that used Cascade, and it was beautiful. You get so much. You get the lovely kind of grapefruity note out of it, but you get a lot of other kind of reddish fruits, like a little bit of a kind of blackcurranty, blackberry sort of thing. So there is a little bit of that to this beer. But at the same time, you've got the nice lemony, zesty qualities from the Centennial balancing it out. So that's a really nice point about this beer. It's got some nice soft, juicy fruits, and it's also got that kind of sharper lemony zest. In terms of the green side of the hops, like I said, to me, it strikes me as mainly more grassy. There's a teeny little bit of earthiness to it as well, and it's also got, I don't really get too much in the way of kind of floral or piney notes, but I'm hoping that that'll come out in the flavour itself. So we'll need to see how we go with that. But take a bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. To me, this one strikes me as having that lovely kind of sweet backbone that I always used to enjoy from the West Coast IPAs. So yeah, let's have a taste of this one then. This one is the Hoppy 40th Anniversary Ale from Sierra Nevada Brewing Company in Chico in California. Huge congratulations to these guys, and thank you for all you've done to kind of promote craft beer in America and across the world. Slàinte, skål. Oh yeah, the pininess doesn't come out so much in the aroma, but it certainly does when you take the beer in. This is really nice. First impression I'd say of this one is that when you taste this beer, it actually tastes a bit boozier than it is. It's only 6%, but to me, when you take this one in and you get that big, get that big kind of caramel hit and the sort of piney notes out of it, you would think that this was more of an imperial monster, to be honest. But yeah, I really like how this goes together. This gets a big thumbs up from me. But if you are going to release a 40th anniversary beer, it better be bloody good. And who else is going to? Well, there's a lot of breweries capable of that. But Sierra Nevada are not going to put out something that's like half-arsed or anything. They've pulled off a very, very nice beer here. So I take my hat off to them for that. This is great. So yeah, let's try and break the flavour of this down then. This is a really, really well balanced West Coast IPA. This one just ticks all the boxes for me. The only other thing that it could do that might make me like it more would be to be an orangey one. But as I always say, beer is subjective. Different people kind of favour different things. I've always been a huge fan of the Amarillo hop, for example, and you've got other ones now: Sabro, Azaka, Mosaic, Waiti from New Zealand. There's a lot of, and Mandarin of Bavaria from Germany too. There's a lot of big American. There's a lot of big orangey hops, and I love those. But this is a lovely, lovely beer. So straight away with this one, in the middle of your palate, you can feel a little bit of that nice kind of smooth bready base, the 2 row malts just blanket in the middle of your tongue. If you go to the centre of the palate, you start to get that lovely big oily caramel out of this one. And as you move further out from the centre of your palate, it gradually becomes a little bit more sort of biscuity and things. But yeah, for me, as soon as you take it in, you notice the sweetness of the caramel there in the middle of the palate. As I've always said, it doesn't matter what beer style the Americans take over there. If you try an American version of a Doppelbock or an IPA or a barley wine or whatever, the American ones are always sweeter. The Americans have got a big sweet tooth in my experience. But the sweetness you get out of this, the backbone of this beer, is really very nice. So big thumbs up. That's one of the big things I always look for in a West Coast IPA, is having those big kind of sweet malty bases. Some of the ones that I've had recently, I've had some very good West Coast IPAs from Sweden, from the likes of Beerbibliotek, and also a good one from Slowburn Brewing Company down in Copenhagen, and Amar Brewkers. They always used to have some very good West Coast IPAs as well. You know, those are really good examples of the style, but none of them, I mean, the Amar ones used to come across with that big sweetness that you got from the American beers, but the more modern ones, they seem a little bit lighter and a bit more, they're a bit almost kind of lighter and more biscuity and crisp, if you like, compared to the original ones. So to have a big oily, caramelly sweetness in this is really it's a blast from the past. I really like that about this. And you can definitely feel the acidulated malts in this one. I've always said that acidulated malt, I don't think it contributes too much to the flavour. I think it's more of a kind of mouthfeel thing. And if you go kind of up the middle of your tongue towards the back, it sort of almost feels as if the beer is going like straight across your palate rather than kind of sinking into the tongue, if that makes sense. I've always found that that's the effect that acidulated malt has, because it just gives you a wee teeny bit of sharpness at the back of the palate too. And I noticed that initially with the Magic Rock beers from Yorkshire and England, because they were big fans of doing that as well. So it works really well. It sort of, in some ways, it makes the back of the beer, the back of your palate feel that the beer is a bit crisper, but then in front of that you've got the big oily caramelly sweetness out of it too. The oats, the oats, I think you can pick out a little bit of that oaty smoothness just sitting underneath the caramel as well, but the breadiness that this beer has, that really forms the kind of linchpin of the beer, and then all the other things that I've just described to you are on top. But in the very centre of your palate, very sweet caramel, becomes more biscuity as you go further out from it. There's some oaty smoothness in there as well, just underneath it, towards the front of the beer, and it's more crisp at the back of the palate too, which is pretty nice. On the hoppy side of things then, I like that, I really do like this. Back corners of the palate, there is a wee bit of earthiness there, which I'm guessing will be coming from the cluster, but as you move further forward, it really does get quite big and resinous. I need to look more into that cluster hop. It's really nice, because whenever it comes to big piney notes, I always think about Chinook. Columbus is a good one, but it gives you more of a kind of floral, spicy kind of note than. It really does give you more of a kind of floral spice rather than a piney resin in my mind. So this cluster hop is quite interesting. But yeah, as you come further forward along the side of the palate, you can really feel the sides of your tongue drying out there, and as you reach the front corners of the palate, it starts to moisten up a little bit and it gets more grassy around the front edge of the palate, and then behind the front curve of the tongue, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters start to push their way out of the beer. So yeah, on the fruity side of things then, if you go to the back of that oily bubble, you do get the kind of darker grapefruity notes, but then as you come further forward from it, it really becomes a lot kind of sweeter and lighter, and you start to get these kind of almost berryish notes out of it. If I was tasting it blind, I would think, if I was tasting it blind without knowing the hops, I might think there's a wee bit of mosaic or something in here, because it really does start to taste a little bit orangey after a while. But then as you reach the kind of front edge of the palate, you really do start to get some of these nice lemony notes from the Centennial as well. So you can really feel that big lemony zesty quality from the Centennial just right behind the grassy kind of tip of your tongue. So that's really nice actually about this one. I love how that goes together. In terms of the way it goes into the aftertaste, you can feel the big piney resins just kind of lingering there. Some of the fruity sweetness, that almost orangey character that I was talking about, that sort of lingers there as well, and you do get some of the sweet caramel notes in the middle of your palate as well. So those sort of three classic components of the West Coast IPA, those are sitting there the further you go into the aftertaste. The pine resin, the big oily fruits, and the nice big oily sweetness too. So in terms of its flavour profile, a lovely beer that really kind of delivers a lot of the kind of classic things that you expect actually. So massive thumbs up to Sierra Nevada Brewing Company for this one. So mouthfeel then, mouthfeel with this beer. This one is quite, it's top end of mid-bodied, bottom end of full-bodied, it's that kind of thing. It's quite a thick feeling West Coast IPA, this one in my mind. Yeah, I would stick with that. Carbonation does give the beer a little bit of crispness. You do get some crispness out of the beer at the back of the palate, in fairness. But yeah, nice big kind of hoppy bitterness to this one too, which is it. But I'd say overall, it's quite it's more of a mid-bodied beer, big oily mouthfeel rather than anything else. In terms of the hoppy bitterness, this one is quite high. It's said on the bottle. I saw it before. It's 65 IBUs, this one. To be honest, I might have guessed it was a little bit higher than that because of the piney resins. I might have thought this was like 70 or 80, to be honest with you. So yeah, a lovely big kind of resinous quality to this one, which is great. The malt base has a bit of smoothness to it. It's a bit crisp at the back, as I said, but to me, it's mainly quite an oily malt base, which I really think suits it. And the fruity notes are lovely and oily as well, which is great. So this beer it ticks a lot of boxes for me, I have to say, and it does almost give the impression of being a little bit orangey. But yeah, if you get the chance to try this one, I recommend that you do. If you're a fan of the likes of the Sculpin, the Torpedo and stuff like this, this is a properly classic West Coast IPA, so it's nice to have something like this amongst the whole kind of hazy New England side of things these days. So yeah, big thumbs up to Sierra Nevada Brewing Company for this one. This is a beer that people that have got into craft beer a little bit more recently, I'm not sure how they would take to this, but to me, who was really into the West Coast IPAs, a couple of years back, 5-6 years back, when I was just starting out the channel, this one is really a little bit of a blast from the past, and I love it when you get beers like this that are a little bit nostalgic. So yeah, happy 40th anniversary to Sierra Nevada, and we'll leave it at that for this review. This one is the Hoppy 40th anniversary, a 6% West Coast IPA from Sierra Nevada Brewing Company in Chico in California, the premier American craft brewery. Thank you again for watching my reviews. As always, let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know your favourite beers are from Sierra Nevada as well. I'm sure we'll return to these guys at some point in the fairly near future. This was my first review from them in about 6 months or so, but it was definitely cool to review this beer for you, and as I said, I hope you've enjoyed my take on it. So check out my social media, check out Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, and I will catch you guys very soon. Until the next time, slàinte just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slàinte, skål, cheers.